Welcome to today's deep dive. Today, we are taking a fascinating look right under the hood of global franchise networks.
It's a really interesting space.
Yeah, we're basically exploring how these massive food and retail chains manage to scale up so aggressively without, completely losing control of their daily operations.
Because that is always the risk.
Exactly. I mean, if you've ever paid attention to the retail or restaurant space, you already know the ultimate nightmare scenario for corporate. It's the rogue franchisee.
Right.
We've all seen it or experienced it. You visit a chain restaurant and it's a complete disaster and you wonder, doesn't headquarters know about this?
Usually they don't, or not until it's too late.
Right. It's that one store in the network that just ignores standard operating procedures, maybe fails a critical health inspection or delivers terrible customer service, and suddenly your brand's stock is taking a massive hit because of a viral social media post.
It is a massive vulnerability. And the logistics of actually preventing it are highly complex.
Which is exactly our mission today. We are going to find out why this happens and how it's actually fixed.
Right. And to understand the mechanics of how the industry is solving this, we're looking at a B2B pitch deck today.
Yep. It's from a company called Com360.
And the deck is titled Scaling Franchise Networks Without Losing Operational Discipline.
Right. And the whole premise of this deck zeroes in on what Com360 calls the paradox of expansion.
The growth trap.
Exactly. Growth is great. It's the primary objective for any franchise model. But as these networks add more and more outlets, the operational complexity doesn't just scale linearly.
No, it explodes. It compounds.
You move from managing a localized team to trying to oversee a decentralized army of independent operators.
What's fascinating here is the specific anatomy of those operational risks as that expansion happens.
The actual breakdown of the system.
Yeah. The deck outlines this really clear trajectory of operational decay. It occurs when a network basically outpaces its internal systems. First, you start seeing these severe inconsistencies in standard operating procedures. So one location runs a highly optimized morning prep routine.
Everything's humming along.
Exactly. While another location, maybe just 3 towns over, is opening their doors with the staff scrambling, the floors are dirty, and half the menu is just unavailable.
Which eventually bleeds into much higher stakes liabilities.
Oh, absolutely.
Like severe food safety and hygiene risks. I mean, we aren't just talking about a messy dining room here.
No, we are talking about unmonitored refrigeration units.
Right, or cross-contamination that can lead to an actual localized foodborne illness outbreak.
Which is terrifying for a brand.
It really is. The source material highlights this brutal reality in franchise management known as the power of one.
The power of one.
Yeah. Even if you have 1,000 perfectly run stores, one severely mismanaged outlet can just shatter the entire brand's reputation overnight.
Because consumers don't differentiate.
Exactly. They don't see corporate store A and franchise store B.
They just see the logo on the building.
Right. So that brand dilution is the ultimate threat, which forces us to look at what they call the visibility gap.
This is key.
So how does headquarters usually find out about these things? Because you'd think there would be some sort of alarm system.
You would think that, but corporate headquarters is often the very last to know about localized failures.
Why is that?
Well, the deck lays out the highly fragmented legacy reporting methods that are still, surprisingly, very common in enterprise-level franchise networks.
The archaic methods.
Almost entirely. You have these area managers out there trying to enforce brand standards using siloed email chains.
Wow.
Or voicemails left for regional directors.
Just leaving a voicemail about a broken fridge.
Exactly. Or even Post-it notes stuck to point-of-sale monitors.
That is wild. And the source mentions paper checklists too, right?
Paper checklists, definitely. And a heavy over-reliance on consumer-grade messaging apps.
Like WhatsApp.
Yes, WhatsApp groups. You have a store manager firing off a quick text or a WhatsApp message to confirm they did the daily close.
Which provides absolutely zero auditable data.
Not at all. And then someone at regional headquarters is actually tasked with manually compiling all those disjointed text messages in paper forms.
Just typing them into an endless labyrinth of Excel spreadsheets.
Yes. It creates a system completely defined by delayed visibility and incredibly weak accountability.
Because it's all after the fact.
Right. I mean, think about it. If your primary data infrastructure relies on a paper checklist that a shift manager backfilled 3 days after the actual shift,
You don't actually have operational data.
you just have noise. and relying on sporadic, quarterly physical inspections from a corporate auditor.
Oh, right, the pop-in visit.
Exactly. That only provides a snapshot of that specific afternoon. It doesn't give you a continuous operational baseline.
So the natural result of all that noise is that headquarters is permanently stuck in a reactive posture.
Always putting out fires.
Right. They only discover a broken commercial oven when a franchise complains about a drop in monthly revenue.
Or worse.
Right. They learn about a severe hygiene lapse when the local health department actually shuts the location down.
Which is a disaster.
Yeah.
They are functioning entirely as a crisis management team rather than a strategic operations hub.
Operating in a constant state of triage, which is an incredibly inefficient way to run a multi-million-dollar business.
But the source material pivots here, because the entire industry doesn't operate in this kind of reactive chaos.
Right, here's where it gets really interesting. The deck establishes a benchmark by analyzing the absolute giants of the franchise world.
The ones who get it right.
Specifically calling out McDonald's and Starbucks. I mean, you can walk into one of those locations in Chicago, London, Tokyo, wherever.
And it's the same.
The operational cadence is identical. The way the line moves, the way the product is assembled, it's remarkably consistent.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, their global scalability has very little to do with the actual product they serve.
It's not about having the best coffee.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Their enterprise value is entirely built on strict operational discipline. Exactly. It's the system that scales, not the burgers or the coffee.
So the Com360 deck actually breaks down that benchmark of discipline. They identify 4 core structural elements these giants rely on.
4 pillars.
Right. Number 1, they rely on hyper-standardized operating procedures.
Meaning there is absolutely zero ambiguity about how any task is performed.
Number 2, mandatory daily operational checklists.
And those are hardwired into the shift structure itself. You can't skip them.
Number 3, routine data-driven outlet inspections.
Not just a casual walkthrough by a manager. Real, quantifiable audits.
And finally, number 4, tying it all together, centralized operational reporting.
Every single data point from those procedures, the checklist, the inspections, it all flows up to a central architecture immediately.
Real-time visibility. So the takeaway from looking at those giants is that absolutely every outlet operates under the exact same structural reporting discipline.
Yeah, okay.
No special cases, no localized workarounds.
Right.
But I have to push back on this premise just a little bit.
Okay.
McDonald's and Starbucks have billions of dollars in free cash flow to invest in custom proprietary enterprise software.
They have armies of developers.
Exactly. If you are a mid-market franchise, say you're a regional fast casual chain with maybe 150 locations.
You don't have the capital to build that kind of bespoke digital infrastructure.
Right. You can't build your own custom app from scratch.
And that is the exact market gap the source material addresses.
The missing middle.
Yeah. That mid-market tier needs the operational discipline of a McDonald's, but they need it through an accessible SaaS model. Software as a service.
Okay, let's unpack this because this is where the Com360 operational governance framework is introduced in the deck.
A core solution.
Right. How do they actually help franchises achieve this McDonald's-level discipline?
Well, the framework is essentially an off-the-shelf digital transition.
Replacing the WhatsApp chaos.
Exactly. Replacing the disjointed emails and paper clipboards with standardized digital workflows and centralized oversight.
And they break this digital transformation down into 5 specific key areas, which I want to deep dive into because this is where the actual daily work happens.
Let's do it.
The first area is daily outlet operations.
Right, so we are moving completely away from the concept of a physical binder of procedures that just sits in a back office gathering dust.
I've seen those binders. They never get open.
Never. This framework digitizes the opening readiness checklists and the end-of-day closing procedures.
Which is huge. From an operations standpoint, the friction of a 5:30 a.m. store opening is notoriously difficult to manage when you are remote.
It's the Wild West.
Yeah. But with a digital workflow, the manager on duty is actively guided through a mandatory sequence.
Verifying staff uniforms, ensuring the cash drawers are balanced, confirming the prep stations are fully stocked before the doors even open.
And the closing procedures are arguably even more vital to get right.
Oh, 100%.
If a kitchen isn't deep cleaned properly at midnight, the morning shift starts the next day completely derailed.
And by digitizing these checklists, corporate actually has a time-stamped, auditable log.
Proof that the work was done.
Yes. They can confirm that store number 84 actually completed its required sanitization protocol, and they didn't just check a box 3 days later.
Which naturally bridges into the second key area of the COM360 framework, food safety and hygiene compliance.
The really high-stakes stuff.
Exactly. This is where operational discipline directly intersects with risk management and legal liability.
It's critical.
But I'd imagine this is where you might run into the most friction with independent franchisees.
How do you mean?
Well, mandating that an independent business owner log every single temperature check into a corporate digital dashboard.
Right.
That could so easily be perceived as corporate micromanagement, a big brother kind of overreach.
Sure.
So how does the framework actually navigate that pushback from the owners?
It's a very valid concern. But the framework heavily positions this as liability protection for the franchise themselves.
Oh, I see. Not just corporate oversight.
Exactly. We're talking about replacing manual temperature logs.
Where a teenager might just scribble 34 degrees down an entire column without even looking at the fridge.
Yes, the pencil whipping problem. This replaces that with structured digital verification.
Structured verification.
Right. By digitally logging the refrigerator temperatures, systematically inspecting food storage for cross-contamination risks.
Like keeping the raw chicken away from the lettuce?
Yes, and actively verifying staff hygiene protocols. By doing all of this digitally, the franchisee is building an impenetrable, time-stamped defense in the event of a customer illness claim.
So if someone says they got sick on Tuesday,
the franchisee can pull up the exact digital logs from Tuesday at 2 p.m., showing the cooler was exactly at 35 degrees.
That completely transforms food safety from a subjective guessing game into measurable, defensible data.
It really does. It's a shield for the owner.
That makes a lot of sense when you frame it as an insurance policy.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving to the third pillar of the framework, we hit inventory and ingredient control.
Following the money.
Right, because if you've nailed your safety and your operations, honestly, none of it ultimately matters if your profit margins are bleeding out the back door.
Through food waste or shrinkage.
Exactly. Shrinkage is a silent killer in the franchise model.
It really is. And the digital framework tackles this by standardizing the tracking of supplier deliveries.
Making sure you actually got the 50 boxes of cups you paid for.
Yes, and crucially, monitoring ingredient expiry dates.
Tracking expiry dates digitally is a massive operational upgrade.
It changes everything.
Because if you rely on manual inventory, what happens? Older stock constantly gets pushed to the back of the walk-in freezer until it expires.
And that is literally just throwing your margin directly into the dumpster.
Exactly. By conducting daily stock checks digitally, both the franchisee and the corporate supply chain managers can see variances in real time.
They don't have to wait for the end-of-month reconciliation.
Right. If a specific location is suddenly burning through 20% more packaging than their sales volume dictates,
the dashboard flags that anomaly immediately.
It allows for highly targeted interventions. You know exactly where the leak is.
And that targeted approach completely redefines the fourth area of the framework too.
Which is franchise outlet inspections.
Right. We discussed earlier how those sporadic, informal corporate drop-ins are highly ineffective.
The pop-in visit.
Yeah. COM360 proposes a highly structured digital audit system instead.
It takes the totally subjective experience of a regional manager just walking into a store, and it forces it into an objective, quantifiable metric.
Checking specific boxes.
Right. The digital audit covers brand compliance. Are the promotional displays current? Are the digital menu boards showing the right pricing?
Alongside meticulous cleanliness checks and service feed metrics.
Everything is measured.
And the output of that entire process is an operational audit score.
Which sounds like a game changer.
It is a total game changer, especially for capital allocation and franchise renewals.
How so?
Instead of corporate relying on a regional manager's gut feeling about a location.
Oh yeah, Dave runs a good shop.
Exactly. Instead of that, they have a centralized dashboard showing that Store A has a trailing 6-month audit score of 94.
But Store B down the highway is sitting at a 68. You instantly know exactly where to deploy your field training teams?
You direct resources where the data tells you to.
Makes perfect sense. Finally, the fifth key area of the framework is incident and operational reporting.
This one addresses the massive lag time in communication that plagues those legacy networks.
The WhatsApp problem we talked about earlier?
Right. When a critical piece of infrastructure fails, say, a commercial espresso machine goes down right in the middle of the morning rush.
Total nightmare.
With legacy systems, that gets reported hours later. With this framework, that equipment fault reporting happens immediately through the digital interface.
Boom. Instantly.
Yes, and it integrates directly with maintenance ticketing.
So a repair tech is already getting notified while the barista is still dealing with the line.
Yeah.
Exactly. The framework also captures customer incident reporting and general operational feedback from the floor staff.
Pushing it straight to the stakeholders who can actually allocate the resources to fix it. So what does this all mean?
The big picture.
Yeah. When you aggregate those 5 operational areas, the daily checks, the safety logs, the inventory tracking, the quantified audits, and the real-time incident ticketing.
All running through one system.
Right. When you run all of that through a centralized digital architecture, the view from corporate headquarters is fundamentally transformed.
The strategic value for the franchisor is immense. Management suddenly possesses a dashboard of truth.
A dashboard of truth. I like that.
They totally transition from relying on lagging indicators.
Like a monthly profit and loss statement that just tells them they lost money 3 weeks ago.
Exactly. They move from those lagging indicators to leading indicators. They can actually see operational drift happening in real time.
So if that dashboard shows that a cluster of stores in a specific region is consistently failing to complete their midday line checks, regional management can intervene on a Wednesday.
Right, before it turns into a catastrophic health inspection failure on a Friday.
It's proactive instead of reactive.
And the COM360 deck divides the return on investment of this system into operational wins and strategic wins.
Operationally, you get the consistency and the rapid issue identification we just talked about.
But strategically,
it impacts the actual enterprise valuation of the brand.
because it enables scalable expansion.
Yes. The friction of adding new locations is drastically reduced.
Right, because when your underlying governance is fully digital and standardized, onboarding store number 500 utilizes the exact same digital infrastructure as store number 50.
It provides absolute operational transparency and fiercely protects the brand equity across the board.
Which all sounds incredible in a B2B pitch deck.
Of course it does.
But I have to play devil's advocate regarding the actual rollout here.
Implementation is always the hardest part.
Yeah. Changing the daily behavioral habits of potentially thousands of frontline workers and highly skeptical franchise owners, that is a logistical nightmare.
It's a huge hurdle.
The software graveyard is literally full of enterprise tools that corporate mandated, but the field teams simply refuse to adopt.
Oh, absolutely. But the source material actually anticipates that exact friction.
How do they handle it?
And COM360 doesn't just advocate handing over a software license and expecting magical compliance. They outline a very specific partnership approach to navigate the change management aspect.
So they don't just toss the keys and walk away.
No. The deck breaks down the implementation into deliberate phases. It starts with a comprehensive operational workflow review.
Looking at what's currently happening.
Right. They analyze the baseline chaos, even mapping out those existing messy WhatsApp networks to really understand the reality on the ground.
You have to know where you're starting from.
Exactly. Only then do they move to the design phase. This is where the brand's standard operating procedures are mapped directly into the software architecture.
Customizing the digital workflows to match their specific compliance requirements.
Right. And from there, they move into the deployment of the digital infrastructure, which is immediately followed by rigorous training for the franchise outlets.
Because if the frontline staff isn't thoroughly trained on the user interface of the new system, adoption will just flatline immediately.
It will fail on day one if they don't know how to use it.
But even with that structured partnership, trying to force a network-wide digital transition across hundreds of locations simultaneously, that seems incredibly risky to me.
It could easily paralyze operations.
Right.
It absolutely could, which is why the deck provides a highly restrictive recommendation for the initial rollout.
They don't do it all at once.
No. They suggest what they call the pilot program. COM360 strongly advises against a network-wide launch on day one.
Okay, so what is their suggested scope for this pilot?
It is surprisingly tight. They recommend deploying the framework in just 5 franchise outlets to start.
Just 5 outlets out of potentially hundreds.
Just 5. And they don't even activate the entire software suite for those 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They recommend implementing only 3 core workflows during this pilot phase.
Which ones?
The daily outlet operations checklist, the food safety monitoring logs, and the franchise outlet inspection module.
By keeping the scope that narrow, corporate leadership gets immediate, actionable data on the dashboard in a matter of weeks, not months.
Exactly. It's a quick win.
They can prove the return on investment. They can identify where the user interface is maybe confusing for the staff.
refine the training protocols.
Right, and then they can actually leverage the success of those 5 pilot stores to secure buy-in from the rest of the skeptical franchise network.
Look at Store A. It's working perfectly for them.
Right. It drastically lowers the execution risk while demonstrating the tangible value of moving away from paper and siloed communication.
It's a very smart rollout strategy.
It is. So, to pull all of these threads together for you, the core argument presented in the Com360 deck is pretty clear. Aggressive franchise expansion is an operational trap if your data infrastructure is stuck in the past.
It will collapse under its own weight.
Exactly. If you rely on fragmented reporting, your complexity will inevitably outpace your oversight. But by adopting a structured digital governance framework, these mid-market brands can actually achieve the operational discipline of the industry giants,
allowing them to scale their footprint without sacrificing their brand standards. And this raises an important question, one that fundamentally rethinks the nature of these businesses.
Oh, so?
Well, traditionally, we evaluate a global franchise network based on its shared intellectual property.
The recognizable logo on the building.
Right, the national marketing campaigns, the proprietary recipes. But if the actual scalability, stability, and legal protection of that massive network rely entirely on the invisible flow of daily data.
The digital temperature logs, the automated inventory API calls.
Exactly. The quantified audit scores. If the network relies on that data, how does this digital transformation change our definition of what a franchise actually is?
That is a fascinating shift in perspective. You're suggesting the true asset isn't the branding at all.
Precisely. It implies that a modern, successful franchise network is no longer just a shared consumer brand identity. It is rapidly evolving into a shared, real-time operational matrix.
The actual data architecture is becoming the core product.
It's becoming just as valuable, if not more so, than the logo on the sign outside.
A shared, real-time operational matrix. That is a brilliant concept to leave you with today. We want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive. The next time you walk into a seamlessly run global chain, try to look past the branding and the menu boards. Consider the invisible layer of operational discipline, the digital checklists, the automated logs, the continuous flow of data that is quietly executing behind the scenes to make that exact experience possible at scale. Until next time, keep exploring.